IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion
with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 1013 Jams.
In my opinion, one bring jam. You're listening to In My Humble Opinion, only on 101.3 Jams.
Yes. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor, IMHO Talk Show. And like we always do at this time, good people. Razor, how you feeling today?
Feeling good.
Studio audience, I think they agree. Miss Max, how you feeling today?
Hey, I'm good. Glad to be here. Another show, another time to get at it. So
That's right.
looking forward to today.
Thank you. Always got to do a good wellness check, because like we always say, when these lights come on,
Yes, sir.
we got a job to
Go
do.
time.
It's go time. With the 95 Bulls, you say game time.
Yeah, game. Yes, indeed.
But I ain't met your family. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we definitely show enough appreciate it for today's show. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Tell a friend. We got a great show lined up, y'all. We are going to be joined by LA-based filmmaker. She has a new film that she's going to be screening on May 20th. None other than Tiffany, Toney, and she is associated with our good brother Ty Cooper. He's bringing her to town for a screening of Bora, the Bora film. Middle, we're going to have Daisa Pascall. She is an educator in the Southern Albemarle region, mentor, and she's trying to provide opportunities and stuff to kids in rural areas. She has an interesting perspective on rural area students. So that's going to be good. So she's trying to plan trips to the African American Museum, give them education and tours about HBCUs and whatnot. So yeah, definitely looking forward to talking to Daisa and like some of your favorites. We can get an Ask Max in there, the good news, give you the word on the street. But we always here to edutain. Razor may even have some economics coming up for you this summer. I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
In regarding economics, I'm gonna hold on to it until we get to that part. Because without further ado,
Max, don't let me say too much.
We always try, don't we, Charles? We always try.
we try. But folks, the loyal listeners, if it's your first time, Razor. Razor is a business owner, and with the summer coming up in his particular business, he's gonna get his pretty busy season. So, but there's a caveat to that. Like there's something happening. I don't know if you're aware, but I'll hit you with it a little later to get your thoughts.
Okay, like to hear.
Yeah, yes indeed. So
get my coin up out there.
Yeah, but let's get the proceedings proceed.
Yes, sir. I'm excited. I can't wait till this next guest comes on.
Yes, indeed. So our first guest today is definitely no stranger to the Charlottesville Albemarle region. And so our listeners, if that are outside of this area, I'm talking about none other than Miss Hollie Lee. She, she's gonna further introduce herself, and for those who don't know, she has a new title. But when it comes to economic development and employment in the area and preparing our workforce, she is most definitely a legend, and we're glad to have her and talk about her new initiative. Miss Lee, thank you for joining us. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me.
A legend, Hollie, a legend. Have you ever been called that before?
I don't know about that. That's a bit much, but
I'll show you how to get the money.
Accept it. You have a calling on your life.
Yes, you do. And the Black community love you.
Well, thank you all. I appreciate that. It's really great to be here.
Yeah. So Holly, you can, for those who have heard the name and may not be aware of your previous work, you can definitely sort of give you can summarize that for us and let them know about what you're doing here now. But I'll kind of kick it off for you. We're talking about the UVA Pipelines and Pathways grand opening. And the grand opening celebration is tomorrow, Monday, May 8th, 1 to 5, at the Jefferson School African American Heritage Center. For 2 to 3, there's going to be remarks by the likes of President Ryan of University of Virginia, comments from City Charlottesville Vice Mayor Juan Diego Wade, words from community members, ribbon cutting with the Chamber of Commerce. So you got a lot going on. You can meet the team. You can talk to UVA hiring managers and learn about open positions. But what I like, and we're going to dig even more into, is that you also have the ability to explore resources available in the community. So not just the UVA thing. And Hollie's contact is on here, but she's going to give you more info about herself. So Hollie, once again, thank you. I just wanted to kick it off for you, but go ahead and further introduce the backdrop to what's going on tomorrow.
Sure. So my name's Hollie Lee, and it's great to be here. Currently, I'm with the University of Virginia, starting up a new initiative called Pipelines and Pathways. And so this is an initiative of President Ryan. So when he became president of UVA back in 2018, he created a council on UVA community partnerships. And really what that is it's a way that the university wants to make sure that we're, dead center in the middle of Charlottesville and other localities. How can we partner with those municipalities and the community and the people in it to make sure that everyone has access to opportunity here in jobs and in education? And so Pipelines and Pathways is really focused on that job piece. There was a working group that was created that was actually called Pipelines and Pathways. And it was in operation for about 18 months prior to making a recommendation in February of last year. I had the privilege of being on that working group because I was formally with the city of Charlottesville. So I was with the city of Charlottesville for almost 14 years doing economic and workforce development. So good feel of what's going on in our local community in terms of jobs and training needs and employer needs. And so I had been on that working group. And again, we put a recommendation in to President Ryan, and he was very supportive of it. And I started with the University of Virginia in this role in October of this year. So in October of last year. And so just starting it up from the ground up. And really our focus is working with individuals in underserved communities to help them gain access to employment at the University of Virginia. And ideally it's in jobs that are full-time benefited and have the opportunity for upward mobility.
Nice, good stuff. The first thing that came to mind, Hollie, when I saw the name, I know that through the Equity Center, they do Star Hill Pathways that's more focused on providing opportunities and showing possibilities and internship with youth, with students. Is this connected to Star Hill Pathways, or is it totally separate?
So not directly connected. We would be considered separate, although we do work with the Equity Center. They have been great partners in us starting this up. And, we very much appreciate that. But if there are other ways that we can partner with them to get their youth into employment, if that's one of their goals, we're more than happy to partner there.
Now, Hollie, I have a question for you.
Sure.
A lot of times when big organizations say that they're opening up opportunities for like disenfranchised people, right? Some of the jobs that are always available are like janitorial, right? Housekeeping and things of that nature. If you can you kind of tell us what type of jobs will be available? And if it's jobs that need training and assistance, will UVA or the pathway system give that opportunity to these people?
That's a great question. So, while we do have those custodial positions, housekeeping, groundskeeper, and we have placed a few folks into those roles, we are also working, on training opportunities. So jobs that require a skill and that people can get paid while they're learning and then, move into that full-time benefited role. And so an example of that is the Earn While You Learn program, which is, I don't know if you all have heard of that, but it focuses on like certified nursing assistant, certified medical assistant, emergency medical technician, and then phlebotomy. So we have a cohort coming up in June. And basically what that is an individual is hired as a full-time employee, already benefited on the first day if they so choose, that's when they want to start their benefits, their health care. And then they get trained. So they get the classroom portion of the work to get their certificate. And then they move into like the full-time hands-on work. And so, an opportunity for individuals, and those are entry-level careers, but they have a clear pathway up for mobility. And so if you start at a CNA, you don't stay there. CNA, CMA, LPN, add phlebotomy, add, other pieces to make yourself more valuable and eventually get to that RN spot if that's really what you want. So yes, our intent is really to make sure that, people are getting jobs, because we need them to have some sustainability. But if that's not where they want to stay, that they have opportunities to move up within the organization. And if that requires training, then that's what we want to be able to provide and support them in.
What are
Can you elaborate?
Oh, I'm sorry, Max. Go ahead.
That's okay. If you're piggybacking off your last question.
Yeah. Are there disqualifying factors?
So there are some, it's a pretty low entry threshold though. So you have to be an adult of 18 years, 18 years old, and you have to have at least a GED. So if someone doesn't have a GED, then that would be something that Pipelines and Pathways would work with them on to try to get them at least to that point so they can enter. I would say
that.
A record? Yes, I knew that was coming, and I was getting to that. So we are subject to Virginia state legislation barrier crimes because we're a public hospital. And so if an individual does have a barrier crime, then they would not be able to be on the medical center side, but we have lots of opportunities for them on the academic side. And we've actually worked with a couple of folks already who were not eligible because of their criminal history. And we were able to place them into jobs on the academic side, full-time benefited positions. So we had one individual who was rejected from the medical center because of her criminal history, and we placed her into employment for $19 an hour on the academic side. So another gentleman, same thing. And he went into a job for $19 an hour with $1,000 sign-on bonus and a $1,500 retention bonus. So, just because you can't meet the qualifications for one job does not mean you're excluded from everything.
Can you give us a little more detail about how the program is partnering with the locality's governing body, city council, and specifically in terms of offering more job resources to the community?
Yeah, so we're partnering really closely. My background is local government, so it's extremely important to me to be able to work with the localities to make sure that their residents are aware that this is an opportunity and how can they gain access. And so working very closely with the city of Charlottesville, Vice Mayor Juan Wade, he is actually on the President's Council. So that is why he is speaking on Monday, so tomorrow, and he's going to speak from the perspective of, I've been on this council. He's now on our advisory board. So our advisory board is made up of community members that help give us direction and guidance on the work that we're doing. And he's been critical in that role. And I've reached out to all. So our target areas are City of Charlottesville, Albemarle County, Greene, Louisa, Nelson, and Fluvanna. And we have reached out to all of those boards of supervisors and city councils to make sure that they're aware. They've all been invited to the event. Now, y'all know that I'm from, my specialty area is more the city and Albemarle County. So it's really been a lot of, we're really trying to push out in those outlying areas. And we have been doing that a lot through the school systems. So I know y'all mentioned that your next person on the show is, has some experience in the rural education. And that would be, someone like that we would love to talk to, because if she or he has, students that are graduating and might not be ready for college quite yet, or might want to do college part-time and work, then we can help with that. And so, we're really getting out there in the school systems to make sure that graduating youth know this could be an option for you.
Yeah. Family, we are joined by none other than Hollie Lee talking about UVA Pipelines and Pathways.
Yeah, Hollie, I got another question as you were talking.
Sure.
Going back, right? Because everything we're doing is going forward. But going back, what do you think the reason is that UVA kind of honed in on Charlottesville and Albemarle when they have the surrounding counties that actually come in to the city to work? Why has it taken us so long to extend that open arm and really bring resources to the rural part of our Blue Ridge district?
Well, I'm relatively new to UVA, but, just from my work in the community, I know that there has always been this perception that UVA, I can't work at UVA. It's not a place for me. I can't get through the process. And so really, our role is to help, anyone who wants a job at the University of Virginia. And, we've even worked with people who are outside of that target geographic location, because if you want to work for us, we want you to be able to do that and be successful. And so, navigating things like the jobs board, creating a workday account, that kind of stuff can be very difficult for people. I know even going through that myself, there were things that were difficult to navigate. So imagine someone with some barriers, like I'm not the best on the computer. How do I set up this electronic workday account and then submit my application through it and create a resume and, go through the onboarding process that requires so many steps, especially on the healthcare side. And so, it's really just this, like you said, the olive branch. Here it is. And we want to be good partners because we are right smack dab in the middle of your community. And we want to make sure that if you want to be part of us, you're more than welcome.
That's dope.
I like it.
Now, Hollie, like in that same vein, because I noticed on the flyer, for instance, it looks like the motto for the group is turning connections into careers, right? So, so one thing I know that you are very sure of, and I'm gonna try to tread lightly, because I know you are UVA employee now, but hey, but this I ain't mentioned. We're gonna keep it real,
right?
But due to the history that that UVA has and a reputation when it comes to the university versus the city and what have you. What are your hopes, or like what are some of the initiatives? Because I was, like I said, I was happy to see on how it says exploring community resources. But define that. What exactly does that mean? Because I'm curious on, is UVA expanding that much to where this is needed to increase the workforce, or is this something that's going to help the workforce in the area in general?
So it's a little bit of both. So obviously, on any given day, you can go onto the UVA job board and see that there's like 1,000+ open positions, and some of those requisitions have multiple spots. So you might see like a patient access associate. It might be one listing, but there might be 10 jobs available. So if you take a peek at those and you see, wow, there's a lot of opportunity here, and so working with our community partners to source individuals who may not have found their way to us on their own, because again, that mindset, oh, UVA is not for me, or maybe just not knowing how to navigate the jobs board and search for those opportunities. And so we have been working very closely with our community partners. One piece of the work that we do is also, so we case manage any individual who is in the Pipelines and Pathways program. And so that means talking to them about their education, their experience, but also their barriers to employment. So obtaining and maintaining. So do you have issues with transportation? If you have issues with transportation, well, maybe we're connecting you with Operation Hope or United Way of Greater Charlottesville to kind of look at your financial situation and get access to a car loan, so you have reliable transportation. Or maybe it's something as simple as, we had one individual who didn't know what bus route she needed to take in order to get to her job on time. So I reached out to Charlottesville Area Transit. They did a rundown with me, and we tried to figure out exactly what was the most efficient route for her and gave her that information. And now she's getting to work on time. So, it kind of varies based on the individual, and that could be, computer literacy. It could be childcare. We have some single mothers. We have one individual who right now is only able to work in a part-time position because she has children, eventually wants to move into full-time. So how do we work with her to navigate what resources are in the community to get her childcare so that she can work full-time, which is her ultimate goal. But we've had some great partnerships in the community.
Hey,
Do you have a sense of how many people are Pathway employees?
Yes, I
Pipeline
do.
Pathway employees?
Yeah. So we keep really close metrics on this. We have about 130 individuals who are in the program right now. We have not formally launched. We did a very soft launch in January and invited our community partners just to let them know what we're doing, get their feedback, and build some of that into the actual creation of the program. But right now, we have placed 16 individuals into jobs at the university, either the medical center side or the academic side. And we have about 25 more people who are somewhere in the process of getting hired. So there may be in reference check, they maybe are in their background check. So there's somewhere in the process. So I know for next month, we probably have a good, 6 or more to add to that 16. So, so yeah, we're putting people into jobs. A few examples are, like quality assurance inspector, that's $19 an hour. We put an individual into that role. We've put quite a few folks into transit driver roles. Those are $19 an hour. We put one individual into a contract specialist position. So her background happened to be in procurement, and she's at $26 an hour. So you can see we have a wide range.
Right.
It can be very entry level for someone who doesn't have a lot of workplace skills and experience, and then it could be, you know, we could work with people with master's degree and place them into positions that are a little bit higher average. We're averaging about $18.75 per hour for our hourly rate.
And I actually I didn't mean to refer to those employees as pipeline to pathway employees, because it kind of folds into my next question. Does that title, so to speak, follow them in their employment process? Because I hate to compare it to something like affirmative action, but what we don't want, of course, is for them to be treated a certain kind of way because they are an employee who was only hired through the pipeline to pathway resource.
So right now, these individuals are tagged on our end so that we can do reporting. So that's an internal system that only, you know, like the pipelines and pathways team sees, so that we can just aggregate information. But the recruiters and the hiring managers don't see that. The hiring managers, excuse me, do not see that tag. So so they don't know. But, you know, we do reach out to hiring managers on our participants' behalf. And that's one of the major pieces to this. Our tagline is turning connections into careers. And as we know in the Charlottesville community, it's really about networking who you know and making the connections to get a job. And so we are people's connections at UVA. We're their network, and we're in there advocating for them. So just the other day, I reached out to a gentleman who was a hiring manager over at the hospital, and he immediately gave our participant, you know, an interview because she met all the minimum qualifications. So why shouldn't he? And so she has an interview tomorrow. So, you know, it's really trying to make sure that, you know, we're out there making sure that people are aware of who the people are and that we're working with them. We have extra supports once they're on the job if needed, which, you know, most of the people we've placed, they've been pretty self-sufficient once they're on the job. It's just been more getting through that initial process of onboarding and all that we've helped with. But yeah, so, you know, we know, because we want to make sure we're keeping track of them, but the hiring manager does not know that they're tagged like that.
Yeah, Holly, because I have a personal, I'm sorry, Max, did you had a follow-up?
Yep, just one small follow-up. Do you also offer assistance for individuals looking for part-time employment?
Yes, so absolutely. So we have part-time positions at the university, and this is part of something that people just don't know from the outside. They call them staff wage positions, and then they have temps positions. And so you're able to work up to 1,500 hours per year in one of those roles. So that's considered part-time. Now, sometimes it might be part-time work, like you might be working 20 hours a week. And then in some instances, it might be 40 hours a week until you get up to your 1,500 hours. So it just depends. And we talk to people about all those options and what works best for them. But like I said before, we did place one woman into a part-time position. She chose that because of her childcare situation, and she has several children, and just being able to have flexibility with her work schedule.
Now, Holly, you know, one thing that was, thank you for this info, definitely.
Absolutely.
With Holly, Pathways, you know, like that's such a critical, as I'm sure you know, of working in this industry as long as you have, key point, because you laid out the qualifiers, right, of how these, you know, are potentially qualified people, or people who, you know, who have other reasons why they think that they can't apply or may not be accepted at a UVA. And when the term affirmative action was mentioned, you know, within the last 10 years, I don't remember the exact year, but I had to educate people on what exactly affirmative action meant. You know, so that's why things like that are just so crucial and just so important for people to understand that, you know, that to be tagged with something that's misunderstood is definitely dangerous, you know, because I come from a generation, I'm first generation removed from my father graduating high school from the first year that high school was desegregated, right? And then his career, you know, besides being a pastor, was with an electrical company. And knowing that before affirmative action, after he went to school, studied business administration, he would turn in an application, and the application would get thrown in the trash can immediately without even being read. So to educate people to understand that even things like affirmative action is such a buzzword that gets misunderstood. It doesn't mean you give unqualified people positions that somebody else should get. It means that affirmative action means that they get the opportunity, right? Like they at least get the look, they get the chance, to for that position. So just wanted to throw that out there and qualify that.
Exactly.
Yeah, but the other, I don't know if you had any comments on that, but the other thing I had though was in regards to, I still see the the coaching, the career coaching, the community resource and things of that sort. Is those services, is there a way that you are determining if somebody qualifies for a position before those services, or can people take advantage of these services and say that they apply for jobs elsewhere, or someone may be trying to climb the ranks in a job elsewhere? Is that something that the Pipelines and Pathways is providing to the citizen? And that connects to my earlier question too, by the way, of the relationship between UVA and community and sort of the negative impact that citizens feel like that the university has had on the community and businesses and things of that sort. Like that's what makes me ask that question: is, are any of these resources available to those who aren't receiving the employment at the university?
Right. So I would say yes. And so is there, with us working with them, we hope that there is an opportunity for them to eventually work with us. It might not be right away because maybe they have another interest. Maybe they have a skill set that we're not hiring for right at this time. So yes, we want to be able to work with them to eventually, ideally get them into UVA. But if that's not exactly what they want, that's okay too. We had 2 gentlemen that we were working with. I'll give you an example of a great community partnership. So they had been working as temps at the University of Virginia, doing a great job for years. I mean, they've been doing this, temp work for years, but they like to work together. They have some barriers to employment. They've been identified as great employees, but unfortunately, the university just didn't have a job that had 2 positions that kind of overlapped and they could work together in their particular skill set. And so we worked with a community employer partner called GovSmart. I don't know if y'all are aware of them or not, but they're a federal government contractor. They sell IT equipment, any type of computers and all that to the federal government. And I spoke to him. I'm like, hey, we have these 2 guys. They're great with, they have bachelor's degrees in IT, but they just need a chance to be able to get in and work for an organization where they can kind of get a foundation for their skills. And he said, sure, I'll interview them. And he eventually hired them both. And they've been there since April 10th. So, and those gentlemen, we will continue to work with them. If they come to us and say, hey, Holly, can you help us walk through this career path? Absolutely. So even if you work at GovSmart, that's fine. You're part of the Pipelines and Pathways program and community. And we want to be able to support you however possible. So
does this program have a shelf life?
We need to show results, right? We need to show that we're placing people into employment. And if we're able to do that, I think the shelf life could be very long.
Well, hire me then, Holly. How about that?
Felt that one coming.
Yeah.
So that makes me wonder, are the individuals that you all help to place in positions being hired, are they, I guess you can answer, or so are they paid from that Pipelines Pathways department, or are they paid by the University of Virginia? Or is there payroll?
So they are paid through the department's payroll. Whoever hires them is paying for their payroll as part of their budget. Okay. We don't actually hire the people. No, they go straight into full-time benefited positions. So on the first day of employment, like I said before, they have access to healthcare. At 6 months, they have education benefits of $5,250 per year that they can start to use towards improving their skill set and moving up within the organization. They have access to career coaches to help them develop a plan on how they move up. What are your goals? What do you need to do to achieve them? And how are you going to get there and in what time frame? And so they're fully part of the university. And part of the departments that they're hired into.
Great. And I'm assuming these career coaches can also help with things like, if you're don't have the best communication skills or, different things like that, they can help to refer them. Okay. Because a lot of times you can find someone who could do the job itself perfectly fine, but they may be lacking the skills that they need in other areas that makes them, truly an ideal fit for the position.
Yes, absolutely. And that's something that we do a lot. So we have two opportunity navigators. They are individuals who are more like recruiters, so out in the community sourcing folks, but then they also case manage individuals. And then we have a community partner recruitment coordinator, and she is also doing that as well, but she also helps make the connections to the community resources. So she's the one that kind of works on that. But yeah, and so a lot of the work that we do, we're, writing resumes, reviewing resumes, mock interviewing, preparing them for those soft skills so that they'll be successful when they interview and then when they get on the job. So that's a very big part of the work that we do and will continue to do once they're on the job.
I have one last question, Hollie. And,
sure.
When it comes to, you say, okay, we got to show results, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is, if you can, what is the metrics that y'all will be basing that off of? Just people that are hired and show, that elevate inside those jobs. Like what is the criteria to know if this program is successful? Because it feels like it's directly connected to my community,
mm-hmm.
right? And more often than not, organizations like the one that you work for like to check the boxes. So that we say that we did the work, but we didn't get the outcome that we were looking for. So then in the future, we don't have to invest in certain ways. And then we can redevelop other neighborhoods and things for things that we want. How do we now? I'm just playing devil's advocate for a second.
Mm-hmm.
I trust you, but
be real.
But how do we, on our behalf, not just look at the shining star and say, "Ooh, I can get me a job," but also looking at, okay, how can we put some fail safes in to make sure that the work is truly being done, not just hire 5 or 6 people. It didn't work. And then we go on to doing something else. So do we need to stay on city council? Do we need to be in some meetings? What work can the community do alongside with just trying to get jobs?
Yeah. So, Troy, we've known each other for quite a few years, and
Mm-hmm.
that I wouldn't be in something where I didn't feel like there was a true commitment for it. And, I'm passionate about serving our community and making sure that everyone has access to opportunity. So I wouldn't be in this role if I felt that it was something that was just going to be here today, gone tomorrow.
Okay.
I believe that the support is there. Coming out of the president's office has been, a huge stamp of approval, I believe. His presence tomorrow at our grand opening. In terms of community partners like yourself and others, just making sure that we're working together to make sure that if you have someone who wants a job, who's part of your organization, your community resource, your community agency, that you're connecting them to us. That if we have folks that we're working with that might need resources in the community to be successful, that we're working with you to make sure they can get access to that. And there aren't so many this red tape and all these barriers that are put up just because we're not from the same organization. Really what we want this to be is one big community effort. And so if I'm working with one of your participants, we're working it together, right? And it's just not me versus you. So and we've had a really good partnership with Network to Work has been great, very close partnership there with those folks. We've done very well with City Social Services. They've referred a lot to us. And, oftentimes we'll get on like 3-way calls with an interpreter. We have a lot of folks in our program who are non-English speakers. And so, it's just this, whatever resources that each of us have, how do we maximize those resources to create the best opportunity for that individual? If that means that you have most of them, then we work with you on that. If it means we do, then we'll take the lead and help get the person through the door. But it's really just it's not us and them kind of mentality here.
Okay.
Right. So I heard you mention like Juan Wade, has continued to be a good partner, and Vice Mayor Wade.
Got to have that formal title there.
Right. You know how they say, I knew him back when.
Yeah.
But no. And you mentioned how he is a member of the President's Council. So my question to you then is, does it intersect? And if so, where does it do so when it comes to the plight of so many people who work for UVA or people who may not work for UVA because of the distance, right? Like because of the travel barrier of not being able to afford to live in Charlottesville. So, because I know the President's Council has, taken on some of the affordable housing initiative, partnering on some of that work. So I'm curious, with this work of employment, but then looking at, people saying, but I can't afford to live here. Like, where does that intersect with your work?
Yeah. So for us, it's making sure that people have stable housing, because we know that housing highly impacts their ability to get a job and maintain a job. I've heard stories of people, they had housing when they started and they lost their housing, and as a result, they couldn't get to work and they lost their job. And so that's really our goal. And for us, if that housing is not necessarily in the city of Charlottesville, but it's in a place where they still have access to get to work, then that's okay. And again, it's working with that person to get them through all of those pieces that will ultimately make them successful. And so first we're looking for housing. All right. Does that housing have is it on a bus line? Can they get to and from work if they don't have their own transportation? If it's not, then what are some other options that are out there to be able to help them get to it? Can we partner with another organization to help them get transportation until we can work with them to get their own vehicle if they have a driver's license? And so, that's the kind of thing that we love about the work, is that each individual is different, and it's really working with them to assess every single piece, every single part of their life that might impact their ability to maintain employment. And so, and then kind of like problem solving and figuring it out the best way.
Yeah. I always wondered that, Hollie, why more organizations there's private schools that they build houses around the school so that that staff live in, right?
Can build elementary.
Right. So, yeah. So I don't understand why organizations as big and as powerful as the one that we're talking about don't go out to these rural areas, and for what they spend in some of these like apartment complexes, they can build 6 or 7 single family 3-bedroom houses to be able to, for like hardship houses or something like, or transitional houses. Like I never understood why they don't do something like that, but maybe that's for another show.
It's a great point, though. I completely understand. The affordable housing and housing in general, we touch one piece of it, right, as it relates to employment. So unfortunately, I'm not as aware of all the other things that are going on with the housing working group and what they're up to. But at some point, I hope we can intersect. And that's really, again, the goal, is that at some point, jobs, it touches every piece, every part. And so if we can work with them at some point, we'd love to.
It's also a good conversation, for the governing body of the area as well, how they can help to provide affordable housing.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So one more thing I wanted to say, though, is just listening to everything that you've shared, Hollie, and it sounds like an absolutely wonderful program.
Thank you.
It sounds like all you're looking for is individuals who want an opportunity, that have the will to work, who are just willing to do their part as far as helping to ensure their success. Like you don't necessarily need any other qualifying factors,
That's exactly right. Like if the person comes to us who says, just like you said, I want an opportunity, and they're willing to work with us to get to it, they will be successful, and we will get them a job. And the 16 folks who have done that, I mean, I think that's clear evidence that if you're willing to work with us, we internally we know what it takes, and if you're willing to work with us to get through those, navigate those different parts and pieces, you're going to make it, and we're going to be here to support you.
Like that. Yeah. So Hollie, in closing, I'm the type of person, when I go to an event and a function, I like to envision it. I like to see myself walk through the belt line. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of threads on my head on.
With his patent leather shoes on.
You know what I mean? I was shaking hands, kissing babies.
Lalo Brown. You want to be down? Vote for Lalo Brown.
But Hollie, the reason I bring that up is give the folks sort of a walkthrough as to what to expect that day. Because I kind of went over the agenda at the beginning.
Right.
But go ahead and remind people again, about the like the when, where, what.
Yeah. So tomorrow, Monday, May 8th, I can't believe it's here already, 1 to 5 p.m. at the Jefferson School African American Heritage Center. We're going to have lots of opportunities and different activities available for everyone. So it's open to the entire community, no pre-registration required. It's absolutely free. So it's starting at 1 o'clock.
Can I bring my kids?
Why not? I mean, they're part of this, right?
No, I'm being serious.
No,
they're wondering.
You know what? If you have to bring your kids and that's the only way, if you have to do that to be able to come, that's fine too. So, we just want this to be accessible to everyone. And so, starting at 1 o'clock, when you walk through the doors, you can get your professional headshot taken if you want. At 1:30, we have a workshop on UVA benefits and what, if you come work with us, what what opportunities you're going to have access to. We're going to have a job fair going on all day with actual hiring managers from departments. So this is, this is a really rare opportunity to get in front of an actual hiring manager from UVA. And so there's going to be like 15 folks there from different divisions and different departments. We're going to have our community resources set up all day. So, Troy, I know you're representing the Fountain Fund. We're excited about that.
Look.
Yeah. So we're going to have workshops. So Scott Hamler, who I'm sure y'all probably know, he's going to give a workshop on, personal branding and, being your best self. And then we have Debbie Crosby Louis, who's also going to present on, kind of your professional image. So just a lot of different things that people can do. So there's something for everyone. And then, of course, we're going to have the speeches between 2 and 3:15, the ribbon cutting. But I think you can walk in at any given point and there's something that you can do that's relatable to some goal or some objective that you have in terms of employment or just, living in the Charlottesville community. Career coaching, we're going to have that too, little mini sessions between 3:20 and 5 o'clock. So if you want to just come and talk about, hey, this is where I am and this is where I might want to be, we're going to have professional, actual licensed career coaches there to do that with you.
Nice.
Good stuff.
One thing I didn't mention that I'm super excited about, and you talk about community partnerships, we're actually going to launch this tomorrow, so you are getting kind of the inside scoop, is our new paid training program called Who's Driving. It's a partnership with University Transit Service and Charlottesville Area Transit to I'm so excited about it because you're talking $19 an hour for an individual, and we're going to train them to get their CDL. And so they're paid that entire time. They'll come on as full-time benefited employees, and then they'll go through training, and then they'll start their own route once they get their actual permanent CDL. And so, again, that's a great community partnership that we're working with Charlottesville Area Transit and UTS on this. So we know they have resources and we have resources, and so we combine those and we create the best opportunity for everyone.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, follow up as far as I know people learn more tomorrow, but let's say somebody may be looking for a career change and they work until 5 o'clock tomorrow, they can't make it. How do they get in touch with you to access these resources as well?
Right. So the best way would probably be, of course, anybody can reach out to me at any time, and I'm more than happy to respond and get them connected with our program. We also do have a website on the university's webpage. So it is jobs.virginia.edu/pipelines pathways. So that's a way, any way that a person can, try to reach out to us. It doesn't have to be through a formal network. It could be through a community referral, like, Troy, and you ask Troy about it and he reaches out to me and then we get in contact. So whatever way works best for the person, but we do have that website up, and there's a way that you can just submit an interest form, and then we reach out to you to set up a time to do a formal kind of intake and discuss your interests.
And I'm going to put in the comment section. What was that website again, Hollie? So
it is jobs.virginia.edu /pipelines-pathways.
Okay. Gotcha. You had something next?
Yeah, I was just wondering, forgive me if you've already mentioned this, but do you have like kind of an average period of time that it may take someone who kind of checks all the boxes and qualifies and, does anything, just meets all the requirements from the point of potentially meeting with someone in your office and being hired?
Yeah, so we've been tracking that pretty closely so we can give people an idea. We're looking about 45 days on average. So it's about a month and a half or so. Now, it just depends. Like, we've had some people who, like I said, the one woman, I met with her on Wednesday. She's going to have an interview on Monday. I mean, she could move very fast. Yeah. But on average, if you're a person who's working with us and you're communicating, like if we say, okay, this needs to be done and you do it right away, you're looking at about 45 days or so.
Okay.
Nice. Well, thank you, Miss Hollie Lee, for continuing the good fight.
Thank you all for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you for what you do.
Yeah, anytime. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. And please keep up the good work. And you definitely have a stage here. So anytime you need to get more word out, feel free to reach out to us.
We appreciate that. Thanks so much. And I hope to see most of y'all tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, family. That was Hollie Lee with Pipelines and Pathways. Grand opening tomorrow to Jefferson, Monday, May 8th, 1 to 5. I mean, your family, we're going to go ahead and take this break to close out the hour, and we will be right back. Don't want to miss it. Talking about rural educator. Daisa Pascall. Access to our children in rural areas. Don't want to miss it, y'all. Tell a friend, tell a friend. Got much more show. IMHO Talk Show.
Words.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion
With Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion
With Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion
With Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion
With Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion
With Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that, and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in this city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories, more people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue, especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay aligned with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written by Charlottesville Tomorrow or Vinegar Hill Magazine, or tuning in to In My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jams from noon to 3 p.m., either way, we want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community can also support the SIM project through funding. To learn more about how to support SIM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.
done. They're affordable and simple screening options.
Here we go, Miss Max. Good people.
Hold on, wait.
IMHO Talk Show back for the middle hour, second hour. However you want to say that, Razor. What sounds better, Razor? Middle hour, second hour?
Right now.
Middle of the show.
Just say right now.
Right about now.
Yeah, right about now. Yeah.
And we still stand in Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor. And as we said, we're going to keep the good times rolling, keep entertaining the good people. So much more show left. And as promised, we are joined right now by none other than local educator Daisa Pascall. Daisa, thank you for joining us.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Now you're a teacher, so I know you got a vibrato. Don't be scared of that microphone. Go ahead.
That's how she gets him on the first day of school. Hello, everyone. It's going to be a great school year.
Yeah. So folks, Daisa is actually joining us today. She has very, very important information. So we are excited to hear her perspective of when it comes to rural education, particularly, Black and brown students that live in rural areas. Because a lot of times people think about city, they think about, like the sort of the trouble, the stereotypes that come with being city schools. But one thing that's for sure, there's access. Now, whether access is being blocked by your local government or not, that's another story. Right. But generally, the urban city areas have a lot more access than the rural areas, right, Daisa?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, when we look at aftercare, there's virtually no programs available for these students who ride the buses for hours to get home.
Yeah,
they sit by themselves. Yeah. They sit by themselves. They're taking care of siblings. There's so many things where we think about those things for students in the city, and we think of programming, and we think of representation. And then when you go to these rural areas, these students are just kind of almost forgotten about. Yeah. There's no idea that they need to see faces that look like them. In our school, there are 4 Black teachers, 1 Black administrator.
That's more than I had.
Yeah,
I feel you.
It's completely opposite. You see so much diversity, and so. When we talked about starting the Mocha and Woka program at Walton, it was so important for me to recognize that we were also going to have students who were not Black and brown who needed to be a part, because we have so many Caucasian students who also need to understand why programs like this exist. And so we've worked really hard making sure that there's a blend between the two, where we're recognizing and supporting our Black and brown students, but also making sure that the white students are holding themselves accountable in the things that they do and say in the school.
I need to ask you a question right off the top. Right off the top. Because you're out in the rural area, did you ever find a point where you had to try to fit in? Now I'm gonna say the word Razor talk. Did you ever have in order to get these programs passed through and to get towards to take hold?
Honestly, I'm sure these programs would have taken off a lot easier had I acted a little bit more white, as you said. No, I feel as if coming in strong and understanding what my purpose is in this has made it the easiest, because, and this is not to like plug anything, but Albemarle County has an equity initiative. They are trying to make sure that all of the teachers have these credentials so that they understand the disparities between Black and brown students and white students and what they come into. And so I truly feel like because that work is actually happening within the schools, it hasn't been difficult at all. There are teachers who have made that difficult, but there are individuals who have made that wanting to have extra answers to questions that don't concern them, right? Or, trying to, well, what is this? Why is the student doing this? Because it's what they need right now. Right now, they just need to be in a space with people who look like them. And I don't know how to make you understand that, because you get that every day.
That's a hard thing for white people to understand. When you say that, like, I don't want you in my face right now. Like, there's nothing wrong. I just need to be around where my comfort level is.
Well, they're not used to not feeling like it's exclusion, right? It feels like, oh, you just don't want me there. But it's more like, well, recognize that why should I have to feel comfortable, more comfortable when you're not there, right? Like, answer that question for me instead of being upset. Oh, you want a space that's just for Black and brown students. And that's not at all what we have. I mean, we're very diverse. I think, out of my 14 Woka women, 7 of them are white. It's half and half. There's not that gap within our program. But when you see some of the, the adults in the building who are questioning those things, those are the barriers that we're breaking down also, for them to recognize that like these safe spaces are not an exclusionatory process. We're not trying to keep you out. We're just recognizing that we need a safe space where we can reflect and these students can understand that these spaces exist. I went to Walton. I was a Walton student. I knew about HBCUs because my mother was a VSU alumni. But had she not been, I was never taken to a Black college. I was never taught about Black colleges or any of that. It was UVA, Christopher Newport, Radford, JMU. Those were the schools that were constantly being put in my face.
When I came up through Orange County, and the only Black schools that I thought existed were what was on the Cosby Show, the real HU parties, and they didn't even highlight the schools themselves. They just highlighted the football game for the real HU and the Battle of the Bayou, Southern and Grambling. That's it. Those are the only Black schools I thought existed.
Yeah. Now let's take it back a little bit and make sure the folks know exactly what brought you here, though. Besides you being
absolutely, we got sidetracked here. I'm sorry.
I felt like we missed the whole introduction.
But we didn't really miss it. Like jumping into the deep end is good sometimes, so folks know what's coming, right? But love your conversation. Appreciate you being there for that. But just, and we did introduce at the top of the show, but just so folks know and are very clear, so you are an educator in Southern Albemarle specifically, and like I said, you see the disparity and the need for exposure to things Black for your rural students, which is a great conversation unto itself. But you are also mentoring and working under the guise of Mocha Woka.
Right.
All right. So, like I said, we've had friends from Mocha Woka who's been on before and whatnot, great partners in the community. But for those that don't know, explain what Mocha Woka is and then the need for the fundraising.
Absolutely. So Mocha Woka is a program that is housed in the UVA Department of DEI, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. A former colleague of mine, Josh Epps, is now the program director for Mocha and Woka. And so at the beginning of the year, when I saw all of the work that he was doing at Albemarle High School and other schools, I reached out and I was like, hey, this looks like something that would be great in my school. He came to the school, he did a presentation, he shared all of the great work that they do at UVA, but also what they've done for the high school students. And so when we started talking about it more and more, I was explaining this is a rural area. These things don't exist out here for these kids. And he was like, I fully support this. I want this to happen. He had met with Dr. Haas, I guess, years earlier, and he's also with the initiative. So it's just a program that makes sure that these students see Black excellence, also experience Black culture in ways that, they don't get in their home life or might not be getting in their home life.
Right. And so
when you introduce programs, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but before you go to that, Max, it's very important for people to know, because again, you mentioned UVA, you mentioned Mocha Woka, you mentioned Mr. Epps. People, a lot of people know the the different degrees of separation and then the connections there. So folks should know also about how the state has cracked down on all things DEI, on how like Virginia Tech recently dissolved their DEI office, right? So anything connected to that is in a bit of a struggle. So I want you to touch on that a little bit too, because a lot of folks also know Mocha and Woka work with mentoring in the collegiate and the high school level. So the middle school is something new for them. So when you think about budgeting, that's something that would have to increase the budget. And the state is not helping you, right?
Yeah, no,
so kind of tell folks the need for this fundraising and what it's for.
Absolutely. So at the beginning of the year, we submitted a calendar and everything for an end of the year culminating event to visit Howard University. This experience that is so authentic. You're in the melting pot of literally our country, right? Like our nation's capital. And there's an HBCU here. And there's a Black History Museum here. And there's all this culture here. And so we planned this beautiful trip to end our etiquette lesson by going there and visiting Howard and then going and having a dinner. And previously, that wouldn't have been an issue. However, some state level auditing of the DEI department, specifically of the Mocha Woka program, left a deficit about $500,000 in an audit. So unexpected funds that, needed to be paid. And I think that put the program, that hit the program specifically because, a middle school program doing something to this extent hadn't really been done before. Like this is a precedent. This is something that has been done at the high school level, but not yet for middle school. And so, things happen. And unfortunately, that means that now we're having to fundraise so that we can still provide this opportunity for the students. This isn't because the program itself doesn't support this. It's just state level audits. And so when we look at who our new leadership is and why they would be targeting things that say diversity, equity, and inclusion, we can only assume that's to harm Black and brown students at the public and state level would be.
Max. Yeah. Thank you for that. All right, Miss Max.
Okay. It fits right behind her introduction, but my question was going to be, when you kind of roll out programs like this in a school and hearing how you say some of the actors within the school responded to it, do you, in the spirit of really trying to create a community, but also provide a space that is specifically designated for our Black and brown kids, do you meet with the faculty and staff to discuss or to let them know what it is that you're planning to do, the school is planning to do, and then kind of progressively implement the program itself?
I'm a big proponent of it could be an email. And so I sent an email at the beginning of the year, just kind of explaining to our principal and sharing information. Through meeting with him, he shared through several communications, like his email, newsletter, and things about programming. But honestly, the teachers who've wanted to be involved reach out. The teachers who want to support reach out, and those are the teachers who I focus on. I'm not for over explaining something that doesn't need an explanation. That's just
Do you feel? Oh, go ahead, Charles.
No, I was just gonna say, following into that is like, specifically you work in Southern Alabama. Like, so I'm really trying to paint this picture, Max and Reyes. You know what I mean? Like, and y'all know I used to live there. Yeah. So you, Black woman, and for those who don't know, let's let the cat out the bag. Business owner in Scottsville, Main Street. Y'all listening to me right now? Black sister, Main Street, Scottsville business owner. I know of businesses that have been shut down and discriminated against in Scottsville. Like, we ain't talking about civil rights here. I'm talking about this century. Yeah. And so the fact that she has a stable business, sister knows her stuff for sure. But this fundraising, also you were at a middle school, so you're at the Walton Middle School that feeds the Southern feeder pattern. And again, the access to HBCUs, the museums and stuff like that for your kids. So Reyes, I just want to paint that picture that folks know who we talking to and what we talking about, and now they realize why some folks may not want to give them money.
Yeah. All right, you might can't even answer this. Jim Crow laws are starting to grow from the South coming up here to Virginia, whether people paying attention or not, right? Our governor himself is starting to put things in play that remind us of the way things used to be, the good old days, right? Even though the administration of the Albemarle Teachers Association, whatever, is backing you, if they have to answer to a state organization that really isn't funding what you're about just because of the DEI, the diversity label, right? Can you really feel that they have your best interest in heart? If you don't feel comfortable answering, you don't have to. I ask stuff like that, but
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think being a professional, I think we're always going to protect our careers, right? Yeah. And so I would never assume that someone's going to put their career in jeopardy for a program that I want to support, specifically if it's for Black and brown students. Yeah. I would never be so ignorant as to think that, but what I would say is that I think that there are enough individuals in positions of power that wouldn't allow anything to happen. I think that there are enough strong backs behind all of the things that are DEI to know that regardless of, whatever pushback or state level interference, I know that there are enough people who have enough affluence in this area who are Black and brown. Because let's not act like Black and brown people don't pay taxes also, big taxes also. So I think there could definitely be pushback, but I think in our area, specifically in Southern Albemarle, there are wealthy Black people out there. Yeah. They got farms, there are farmers who held on to their generational wealth and whatnot. But I think that if the UVA DEI department did come under more scrutiny. I think that would have to be a question that Dr. Haas would have to answer, right? Like, as a superintendent of schools, is this something that you're still going to support? Because I'm at the bottom of the pyramid, so I can't really.
All right, Charles and Mac, let's take her out of the equation for a second. Why are they starting to attack something that's directly affecting us? Why do you feel?
I mean, that's as American as apple pie, ain't it? Yeah. I mean, I ain't surprised, But
therein lies the answer, I think.
Yeah, the way I would kind of answer that maybe with a question, sort of, which is like, what have any channels been identified to address this? Because we all saw this coming when it came to any type of diversity, equity, inclusive programs, that funding is going to be cut, if not totally banned, right? And so, like, I'm more curious about steps that maybe we as parents of your students can take, to have a voice. And honestly, like, the harsh reality maybe it means voting the right people in the office. Maybe there's no change until then, but I'm curious if you have any ideas, like any suggestions for your parents that may say, hey, we really want to do this. We know it's expensive. I can give a little bit, may not be able to give all of it. Like have there been any channels identified to try to address this?
Absolutely. There have been a few families who've reached out and said, like, how much are we asking for? Or can we look at the funding for next year? And luckily, the 100 Black Men program actually has reached out and has shared that, we can talk about looking at future grants to support this in the future and hopefully keep this and make this something sustainable at Walton for the students. I try not to ask of our parents. One of the goals of this program was so that it does not become a stressor on parents. And so I try my hardest and have still continue to try my hardest to not ask parents or their families to reach into their own pockets. I think that when we talk about servicing kids and making sure that they feel supported, that also means their families feeling supported.
Absolutely.
And so I would never want to put a family in a situation where they have to say, no, I can't, when they really would love to.
So where's the NAACP at right now? Like,
but see, that's kind of what I'm getting
at. Can contribute in other ways, right?
Oh, yeah, you're absolutely right, Max. You want to say that again?
Yeah, I was just going to say that the parents can contribute in other ways, whether that's just showing up at a school board meeting to express their support for the program and ask for funding, or what have you. There are ways to support.
Where's the NAACP?
Yeah, so Ray,
how about that? No, we ain't gonna get away from that.
No, I feel you. So on one hand, I think it's beautiful. It shows how you said this is a Mocha Woka program, but then like the 100 Black Men stepped in and say, like, let's partner. That's what we need, more community.
Absolutely.
Now, raising your point, NAACP. That's where my question was going on that side of it, of the petitions. Like, if we know that there's budget shortfalls, then civil rights groups such as NAACP, but even the everyday citizen as well. I gotta imagine that that we should be petitioning or something in the state saying we don't agree with this, because the reason that the governor and the governor's office can get away with reducing funding or trying to block and ban, whether it's CRT, DEI, because their constituents, that's what they want. Like, they feel like they're going to get voted in if they do this. So we on the other side need to be voicing our concerns too, and that's the NAACP, but that's everyday citizen too.
Nah, we don't need the everyday citizen. We need to get back to the NAACP doing what they say it is. They getting money. I understand that Black people not funding the NAACP, so they getting the money from other entities. So they show up when told to show up. I'm sorry for those of y'all that got your little badge on your shirt, but the fact of the matter is the NAACP is not what it was, does not stand for what it was. If it was, when's the last time somebody showed up at anything around here in Charlottesville that rep the NAACP that we stood behind, besides telling every other Black person that everybody got to do their part? So then the NAACP falls to the wayside and nobody does anything.
Touche. So, but then that means, but who makes up the NAACP? Citizens, we do.
Right.
So that means maybe we the new people got to get involved.
No. See, that's
like, because you're saying a brand,
right?
But what it sounds like to me is that the right people got to get in there and make something happen. And the NAACP is just an acronym. That's just a brand. Right. It's gonna take us, the people.
No, we ain't even the people of the NAACP.
Well, the members. I'm saying people makes the membership. Is what I'm saying.
Black people ain't even the NAACP no more. You know what I'm saying? And that's why we're not showing up. Because when we decide not to take the job as the treasurer and everything else, somebody say, hey, don't nobody want it? I'll do it. And then before you
That's
know
the
it,
problem.
we ain't
That's
showing
the
up.
problem.
But we ain't talking about it. That's the problem. So let's talk about our little grandmamas
It's a radio
and,
show,
and our little slick cane walking grandfathers that ain't, that didn't usher in the right people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what happened, man. We didn't do a good job of discipleship, and now what got us out of, we can't even tap into to do anything. They can shoot me and you right now. NAACP wouldn't be nowhere around.
So
we can be dead. Like we can be.
I mean, I know branches that are out there,
doing what?
Matter of fact, right now the black man got killed in Fairfax. There's actually a collage.
We talking about Charlottesville, Scottsville, Madison, Orange County, Greene County, where the black.
I got you. But still, at the end of the day, I'm still saying though.
Sorry, Miss Lady.
That's just it sounds like he needs to join the NAACP, right?
That's what I'm saying.
No, because I will smack people in there, but y'all ain't gonna come get me out of jail. That's the thing. No, I can't.
Right, but you pointing out a brand, and what I'm saying is the people make the brand. That's all I'm saying.
But the brand is fog now. It's like trying to grab fog.
I feel you.
That's what it is, and it's sad, right? Because in anything, when they start looking for votes and stuff, they're gonna find somebody from the NAACP to stand beside somebody in somebody's church and say, vote for this person.
Bro,
and we ain't gonna see that person or the NAACP. I don't blame the enemy for showing up and asking for our votes. I blame the person that walks them into those black churches as if they're vouching for them, and then we never see them no more when we need them for anything.
I feel you. So, but NAACP is one piece of it. You got, whether it's BLM, you got all kinds of groups that could be petitioning to make changes. End of the day, I like what Daisa said. It's about the kids. Because like when we were talking about fundraising and now we're talking about petitioning and all that kind of stuff, end of the day, it's about who cares for the kids, who's going to step up.
Exactly.
Right.
And if you can't care in your own household, in your own community, why would somebody else care about you?
Facts. But
so give us the roadmap.
To that regard. Yeah, I think I was on the same page with you, Ms. Max. So to that regard, you set up a GoFundMe, right?
Yeah.
So let folks know the name of that and sort of the, like the ins and outs.
Yeah. So because of some rules within Albemarle County, I have to make sure that I'm very clear that I'm operating as a UVI liaison through the DEI department for the Woke and Mocha program, not as Daisa, the art teacher at Walton Middle School.
UVA liaison.
Liaison, yes. UVA.
You said UVI.
Oh, sorry, UVI.
So make sure people.
My apologies. We have a GoFundMe set up. Me and Mr. James Watson for my students.
That's my man.
Yeah, he helped me get that going. And so basically what we have right now is about 15 donors who've gotten us.
Well, thank y'all.
600, right?
Yeah, appreciate that.
And I bet you're members of the NAACP.
Not a one.
I guarantee you. We're going to audit that list, Daisa. We're going to tell Razor on air.
Oh, no more audit.
Ain't nothing black about them, but they tires on their car. That's it. I don't believe. I'm sorry, Matt. It is what it is. I don't trust.
But yeah, so
I'm sorry. You guys excuse us.
No, y'all are fine. So the GoFundMe is set up through my Facebook page. You can look it up, Daisa Granger Pascall. It doesn't list the specific school. It has a picture of my students who are part of the program. It's very easy to find. You're more than welcome to reach out through email, daisagranger@gmail.com. So that you can donate to that. But yeah, so it's to help for transportation, room and stay, and then of course our culminating dinner. Our tour at Howard is by my little niece. She's graduating next week. Yeah. So she's gonna stay up. She's from the Bronx originally, but she's gonna stay down and do our tour for us, and then we get to go through the National Museum for African American History, and so that's going to be really awesome. So please donate to our GoFundMe because we definitely want to make sure this trip happens.
I'm gonna make sure I put it in.
So other than donations, Daisa, tell us how to help your program thrive.
Yeah, I was thinking.
Obviously, we know we can't go to the NAACP, so we need them out.
I mean,
tell us what to do.
You got to apply the pressure.
Absolutely. Yeah. What we really need is for there to be attention to the importance of DEI at UVA and other institutions so that they are continuously funded and supported at the state level. And so, that's about who you vote for. that's paying attention to what's going on around you and recognizing that in order to support these kids, we have to work hard on all entities, providing those opportunities.
And how do we?
Go ahead, man.
And what does that work look like as far as making sure that UVA understands the significance of that program? Are they having monthly meetings? Are we sending emails? Are we marching on grounds? No.
There right now, Joshua Epps and the administrative level of Albemarle County are meeting to discuss what it looks like, this partnership. Him and I believe Dr. Eric Irizarry, will be meeting in the next few weeks to discuss what it looks like to continue this partnership. And so hopefully ironing out, what that looks like fiscally as well, what that looks like as far as opportunity and access. Yeah. So that's the big head start. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, indeed. I mean, that was really a loaded question, but I think that's kind of a perfect way to end it. Because not even just for this fundraising, but like when it comes to just seeing Black faces, seeing successful, just seeing success, right? Seeing people taking their time out to come read or tutor, whatever the case is. Like, I mean, feel free, right? While you have the mic to, like, just when you think about your students in general, beyond this trip. Like things that you wish that you saw more for them.
Absolutely. I have to be completely honest. I have a great support system. I'm part of African American Teaching Fellows. I reach out to Jamie. I say, hey, Jamie, I need someone to come and talk to my kids. She sends me somebody, but that's because I have those resources. There are a lot of Black teachers who don't have those resources. And so I think if you are somebody who has something to share with these students, reaching out to these schools, reaching out to these teachers, sharing, what you can provide. There are so many Black entrepreneurs in this area who could just come and show their faces, right? Just come and show your face and share your story. That can make such a difference for these kids. As far as, if we're looking at, if you're trying to look for a job, we need bus drivers, right? We need people who can get these kids to school. There's so many ways that if you know somebody or are able to, or have the ability to volunteer within the schools, we accept volunteers.
Now, when you say entrepreneurs show up and talk to a kid, what do you mean?
Yeah, well, just come in. Let's say you go to a math class and maybe you've started an accounting company or, or whatever it is. You do taxes, it could be anything, whatever your business may be. Maybe you're a CEO of something great or you started something. You can come and share those stories and show these kids.
Sign me up.
Okay.
Yeah, sign me up.
Okay, wonderful. Wonderful.
Thank you, Reza. Absolutely. Daisa, Pascall. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for the great work. Like I said, we're going to share as well that link for you in our comments. So folks, definitely reach out. As she said, we diversity and exploration student group on that GoFundMe, and like we said, it's always a call to action here at IMHO. Like, I mean, like if you don't know, look up your delegates, your representatives, anything you don't like the people got to stand up, stand tall, because funding for where funding needs to go is very important. As I always say, it ain't about increasing taxes. It's about restructuring the budget.
No,
we got the money. We got it. Let's not act like we don't. All right, family. So we're going to be right back. Take this little break right about now. IMHO. We're going to be back with another segment, good discussion, hit some headlines before we join next hour by Bora movie director, LA-based Tiffany Toney. All right, IMHO. Tell a friend, IMHO Talk Show.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that, and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in this city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories. More people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue, especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay aligned with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written by Charlottesville Tomorrow or Vinegar Hill Magazine, or tuning in to In My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jams from noon to 3 p.m., either way, we want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community can also support the SIM project through funding. To learn more about how to support SIM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion
with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion
with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
H.O. Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion
with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
Hold on, wait. You're listening to In My Humble Opinion, only on 101.3 Jams.
Yeah. I am H.O. Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
Ready, Razor?
We ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Max, how many years we've been doing this? I'll tell you.
Long enough to know.
As I said, as I was a little kid, I had the TT.
Oh man, hey, but Miss Max,
yeah,
we're gonna do this one right. You know, as we told the folks, we got a lot to discuss, but we got one question that has to come through in a Ask Max form. I mean, it's like there ain't no better way to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The questions. That right, Razor? The questions.
Right.
And Max, you know what?
Famous part of the show.
Yeah, trademark.
Are y'all ready to get some hate mail from the NAACP? No.
Hey, look, that's why we got a disclaimer.
Set us up something terrible.
Yeah.
That's why we got a disclaimer on the website, social media, in the show lineup, everywhere else. Like the worst we're gonna get, they're gonna petition to get Razor off the show, man.
Troy gonna show up there. If they put Razor off, Troy show up. They can't stop this money.
Hey, but Miss Max, you remember when how the Ask Max started, right? You know, the people know it's always it's a key term for a listener question. But it used to be a time where like you just took the stage and it was like Max read the email or the letter and she gave her thought and me and Razor just shut up.
Yeah, that's it. There wasn't no more.
You know, I mean, like, it's totally up to you if you want to do it that way, Miss Max. But it is the questions. One more again. And without further ado, Miss Max, this one is actually based around this story that our good friends over at Charlottesville Tomorrow is actually a headline.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they always got the good headlines, and I shared it on our page. But the headline, if you go to you go to cvilletomorrow.org, it is the first one that's popping up right now. But the Ask Max today is if this is going to do any good. The question is, Charlottesville, what is the article? Charlottesville plans to hire one of the only city-sponsored housing discrimination investigators in the state. Right? Charlottesville plans to hire one of the only city-sponsored housing and discrimination investigators in the state. Subtitle is Charlottesville's Office of Human Rights receives more allegations of housing discrimination than it can handle. Miss Max, like I know you once upon a time was connected a little bit in that career. So that's why we were asked, will one of the only city-sponsored housing discrimination investigators in the state, will they be able to fix, Miss Max, will they be able to fix housing discrimination? Problem lies. Is the problem in accountability, leadership? So you need somebody to tackle this thing?
Is this for us or is Max taking this?
You know what? I mean, I was leaving it to Miss Max.
Yeah.
If she felt so inclined to take the next 10 minutes to just take the stage, she could. If she go first, we can. But it is called Ask Max for a reason.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I mean, I have an answer to that. I think that I think that it will take the right person to have any success in that type of position. Do I think that hiring someone to do that job specifically fix the issue that we're having? No, I mean, it runs as deep as racism itself. But I think change can be made. The problem is oftentimes people ask for change and they don't want the change when they get it. For example, our former police chief.
Obama.
And so now what I can tell you is there's definitely a need in the area. Everyone at some point has, had a conversation with someone where housing discrimination is an issue. I think the housing authority itself, they've said in so many words the challenges they face in terms of getting people who have housing choice vouchers eligible with landlords. And I personally believe that there is an element of discrimination folded into that. So I think it's needed, as I'm sure it's needed in every city or county. I think it's worthwhile to attempt to fix the problem. I think the individual that is in that position needs buy-in from those supporting them. And whether we're talking about citizens or colleagues or governing bodies. And I think it's a step in the right direction for what the city says are its priorities. Now we have to, realize those things. We have to bring those things into fruition. Now, what does that look like? So well, that's, like I said, I mean, it requires a good one. You're gonna have to be a tough one. Gonna have to know your stuff. You're gonna have to have support. You are going to have to accept the small victories that come along with it. You're gonna have to be able to stay the course with it, and have the right support in your corner when you meet the hurdles. And we all know that all of that is easier said than done and can be very challenging. So again, I think it's a good move. Now let's see whether or not it will actually serve its purpose and help the families that are affected by homelessness or facing discrimination, that are forced to live with those conditions. Yep.
Miss Max, thank you. That Ask Max. Hopefully that answers your question, listener. But guess what? I got a twofer. Razor thought he was gonna get off easy. You thought I was being all sweet like that, setting up Miss Max for nothing.
Here we go.
Razor, your turn. All right, we did the Ask Max. Now we got some Razor's advice for y'all. Y'all are him getting buck.
Back me up, man. Back me up.
We getting buck with it, Miss Max. I don't know if you can hear the line on the background, but
he gonna hype me up before he asks me the question.
Got another Seville Tomorrow headline too that we're gonna need Razor by because for y'all know that Razor and Miss Max are entrepreneurs. Y'all know that.
That's right.
And so summer is a busy season for them. One of the big things is that their culinary truck is the contract has increased. Won't he do it?
Yeah, won't he do it?
Won't he do it?
Yeah.
But one reason for that is when you talk about the clubs, the aquatic centers, and things of that sort. Mm-hmm. So, Razor, I don't know if you don't know, but based on what Tamika's saying over at Seville Tomorrow, the city and county are facing another summer of pool and beach closures because they don't have enough lifeguards. For instance, the Smith Family Aquatic Center is already operating on limited hours because of a lifeguard shortage. So again, the city and county are facing another summer of pool and beach closures because they don't have enough lifeguards. You as a businessman working in that sector, like what you've seen over the last year with that, have you seen a decrease? Like, what do you think is the fix for that? How do you think that's going to even affect the summers?
Yeah.
We may be talking about another recreational option
for
our kids.
Yeah.
Could be lessened, putting more of them back in the streets.
Yeah.
But again, like when you hear that, you think business, you think community. What does it make you think the city and county are facing another summer of pool and beach closures because they don't have enough lifeguards?
Let's take it back before we even get to the business segment part of it. Mm-hmm. I think that what we're seeing is our inability to make our children accountable and grow up when it comes to like responsibilities and wanting more. Mm-hmm. A child that does not regularly do their chores is a child that won't want much as a young adult because that's all they know. Mm-hmm. They're only going to want what they want when they want it. But when it comes time to get up and go out there and get it, they just not going to have it, right? So we're seeing this. Most lifeguards are teenagers, right? Mm-hmm. So to tell them that they have to work in any form of fashion and may not be accessible to their mobile device is enough to keep a lot of them from going to get employment, right? So, and then we have a structure now to where parents don't want to be parents. They'd rather be their kids' friends because of the things that they went through as children. So now you have a friend talking to a friend, which that advice only goes so far. So when it comes down to the city having access to lifeguards and just children that would normally operate these positions, so the whole community can benefit from it, it's just a result of what's going wrong in our community. We shouldn't look at it from the business aspect. We should look at it to, okay, if they don't want to do anything and we can't hire them and even pay them to be pretty much having fun, what kind of society are we expected to have in the long run? Like this is where it is. And these come from these single family homes. These come from, big government being in family business. This comes from, a lot of these children in a lot of my children's ages and things of that nature are implemented into the judicial system at an early age. Like people don't realize when you go put your child on child support, your child is in the system. When you put the dad on child support or the mom on child support, your child is in the system. So now they get accustomed, whether you know it or not, of being told how much they're worth, what they should do, what they can't do. People don't look at it that far. So when it goes to your question, right?
That's my interview now. I'm gonna say, I don't know how many black lifeguards I've seen on Razor. Like,
we don't like heat. We don't like heat.
Yeah, but most of the lifeguards are white teenagers, right?
Yeah, because we don't like heat.
But I'm just saying, like to your point, I'm like, I don't know how much like that affects. When you talking about the recreational piece?
No, you got to go back to, there was a time where we couldn't put our feet in the pool, right? So why would I think that it's okay for me to be a lifeguard? And the majority of people, African Americans, don't learn how to swim or accept water the same way as our counterparts have. You know, like when me and my family would go to the pool and they would see my kids jump in the pool, people would panic because they weren't used to seeing black kids jump into a pool and start swimming, right? Max can tell you that herself. So when it comes to the lifeguard sector, we really never took those opportunities because they didn't exist. So the first thing you would have to do is get our African-American kids used to swimming at a pool. Like going to a pool party doesn't mean getting dressed up and putting your ankles in and say you went to the pool.
I'm just there for the cookout.
Yeah, right.
Or just being interested in the job.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not nothing that they feel is for them. You know, so
do you want to touch on the business side of it or not?
On the business side of it, they'll figure it out. Like you have to, in order to sustain yourself in business, you have to be like water. You know what I'm saying? So if they only open up part-time, you be as efficient as you can doing that part-time time. And then you bring kids in and you still implement them and you work them and teach them the business of business. Right? So while when it's busy, you might just say, look, do this, do that. When you have time to really cultivate them, you take that time, because there's going to come a time where even if they're not working for me, working for somebody else, now they have skill, they have a skill set, and people can pay them more because they know what they're doing. So it's just a matter of how you look at it, man. In my opinion.
But now on the home front though of your business, are you concerned at all?
Always. You know what I'm saying? Not just because of the shortage, but just because post-COVID, you have to work on a swivel. You know, there's things that I wouldn't have thought of doing in my business pre-COVID that is a staple post-COVID, right? So being worried, no. Being always open to things that I thought might not be my niche is more where I'm at now. Because when you're looking for the answer, there's no stone that you don't want to unturn.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. That was a double dose, y'all. Hope y'all liked it. What you think, Miss Max? You like how I did that? Ask Max, Razor's advice.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. Those were good questions. They really were. Yeah.
Thank you. So yes, let's go ahead and take this.
All right, now I got let's do a trifecta.
We only got 2.5 minutes.
That's all right. This will take
2.5 minutes, Razor.
Mr. Lewis, when is we gonna see you at the pool?
What you mean?
Yeah. I mean, you come to the pool. You're always an advocate of bringing people out, right? What about us getting together to try to find
a pool party? Is that what you're getting at?
I don't want a pool party. I want to teach African Americans how to swim.
Oh, I feel you. Oh yeah. I'm totally for that. Like I think even if we got to get funding for it, I think it should be mandatory. You know, there's more and more HBCUs. I know Howard is one where it's mandatory. You have to learn swim.
Yeah.
Like because that's still the leading cause of accidental death of black people. Accidental.
Yeah, absolutely.
Drowning.
They panic.
Yeah.
Yeah, they panic as soon as they hit the water. We panic.
Yeah.
As soon as we hit
Maybe
the water.
you know, I had a thought. Maybe you guys can seek out funding from that group, the NAACP. They might be, willing to help you out with that.
Max, we got a break. You trying to get him started? We ain't gonna never get the break.
Hey, look, they mad at us right now.
Oh my goodness.
They mad at you, brother.
yeah, don't be putting us in it. Oh man, yes, I made sure though. Y'all definitely stay tuned because next hour we are going to be back as promised with LA-based filmmaker actress Tiffany Toney. I mean, I'm super excited.
And let's not forget
she got a new movie, Bora, the Bora movie, and she's going to be brought here May 20th by none other than our own Ty Cooper, and she's going to be showing a screening of that movie, Bora. So want to learn about what the sisters got going on and want to support Black filmmakers.
Absolutely.
And so she's going to be here next hour with us. And hey, you never know. I mean, like Ty's such a generous brother. Maybe he'll do a ticket giveaway. I don't know. Don't put that on me, but y'all got to ask Ty.
Look, he's grinning in the car right now. Is he behind me?
He's behind me.
Is he behind me? I can feel it.
Hey, look, when a Harlem brother behind you, you got people.
Yes, sir. My hair stood up on my neck. I said, Harlem in the building.
All right, y'all. I made sure. Be right back at it.
All right. Y'all crazy. What's up, man? How you doing, man? Chillin'.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in this city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories. More people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay in line with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written by Charlottesville Tomorrow or Vinegar Hill Magazine, or tuning into In My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jams from noon to 3 p.m., either way, we want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community can also support the SIM project through funding. To learn more about how to support SIM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.
Go to your page.
After that was going to listen out.
Hey, Tiffany, can you hear us?
Yep.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, so we'll be on in less than a minute. So we're just not live on air right now. Well, actually, the stream is live, but we're not live on radio. So we'll be on in just about 30, 40 seconds.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, so what's up?
Researchers participate in career coaching and workshops and find out about UEA Group A training program Who's Driving. This grand opening is Monday, May 8th from 1 to 5 p.m. at the Jefferson School African American Heritage Center. It's free and open to you on May 8th.
Hold on, wait. You're listening to In My Humble Opinion, only on 101.3.
Like we always do at this time, Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor, back like we never left. In the booth in the building, IMHO Talk Show. You still got another hour of show left, so go ahead and tell a friend. You don't want to miss it because we are joined by none other than the frequent contributor, the man, the myth, the legend.
That's what I am.
Life View Marketing and Media Zone. Short shot. I mean, you know, because when you're from Harlem, you got all kinds of aliases. Ty Cooper. That's my man.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks for having me, man. But I'm just I'm
like
I'm a humble servant in the community, as Max very well know. And but I'm like I'm a background guest today.
That's right.
We have someone very special today.
Very, very special, man.
Someone who I met at Sundance.
Oh, that's what's up, man. Yeah, so
that's how we met.
Yeah, so definitely want to hear that.
I'll let you lead that.
Yeah, appreciate it, bro. Yeah, so
I was getting ready to say, did you show up? Because it sounded like you took the show over there. Was it cool?
I forgot where I was at.
No, but definitely want to hear that origin story, folks, because we are more than excited. A lot of people are looking forward to May the 20th. When we're gonna have this young lady in town. We're talking about none other than Tiffany Toney. She is LA-based actress and filmmaker, and her film Bora will be screened at the Vinegar Hill Theater Saturday, May 20th. Doors open at 6, screening at 7. There'll be a filmmakers Q&A as well following. So she's going to further introduce herself and get familiarized, see how in the world she linked up with Ty Cooper, and I hear more about the story because the trailer we shared the trailer, Tiffany, and folks are liking it, they're sharing it. So definitely got folks excited want to hear the backdrop and sort of the storyline behind that.
That's on fire.
Yeah, it looked like it, bro.
It's fire.
I mean,
that trailer is fire.
I mean, like you got some. I saw some notable faces in that trailer too. Yep. But the story of Bora follows Elon, a USC grad student who embarks on a road trip to discover herself on the Day of the Dead. But when she meets Bora, an Afro-Mexican hitchhiker, Elon's life takes an unexpected turn. So y'all can hit Eventbrite Bora movie as well for tickets, or if you go on our page, you can scan the code. But without further ado, Tiffany Toney, thank you for joining us, Tiffany.
Thank you for having me. I'm gonna let you slide though for mispronouncing my last name. I like that you made it sound French, but it's
my bad. It's Toney.
It's Toney.
Oh, word, okay. I mean, like that makes it easier on me. Like, you know what I mean? Like I would
put a little drizzle on it.
Yeah,
Toney.
He do that to everybody.
Hey, look,
he boss up everybody's name.
Hey, but Tiffany, I'm from VA. Like I'm from the South, and then when I saw that E, you know, it kind of made me nervous. I was like, you know, I want to sound country on here, so let me add some swag to it. I didn't want to say Toney, and then you'd be like, it's Toney. You know?
I got you. So I'm with you.
Oh, it's all. Giving you a you know, this has all been a very surreal experience, partly because when me and my team, you know, decided to make this film, we were all like homeless and like struggling through the pandemic. All of Hollywood had shut down, had work. I was being evicted. One of my, you know, partners was going through a divorce. The other one, like barely getting work, and you know, his mother was sick, and he all of a sudden had to take care of her. So we were just 3 hungry filmmakers who, you know, we didn't even know where we were going to live or how we were going to eat, but we knew we were going to make a movie, you know, because that was, if this pandemic, if this was going to be the end of the world, we knew we wanted to be remembered and we wanted to leave a legacy behind. And this was the only way to do that for us. So we just poured everything we had into this project. And for me, I mean, people looked at me and they thought like, you're crazy. Like you're taking the money that you need to eat and live and making a film. Like what do you know? But it was this spiritual calling that I just couldn't ignore. And part of that spiritual calling was what led me to meet Ty. I was at Sundance. That I'd gone to Sundance on a whim with literally no money, just on a whim. And I snuck into the event actually that Ty was in. I wasn't even invited to this event. I kind of just snuck in and I saw him standing at a table, you know, with food, and my spirit was like, go talk to him. And I'm like, why is what am I supposed to say? I don't even know this guy. Like, what am I saying? So I think I just like made a joke about like the food and like asked if it was good. And, you know, I had no idea who he was or what he did or who I was even connecting with at the time, but we just, you know, started an organic conversation and I was telling him a little bit of my story and how I had snuck at this event.
Man. Like Todd, good dude. He didn't even get you kicked out.
Yes, nah, it was canon. It was a canon event. I go every year. But she what struck me about her that one she was by herself.
I know, right?
Usually people when they come to Sundance events, you know, they come, you know, like two or more people, you know. And so that struck me. I was like, damn, I said, oh, she's by herself. I'm looking around like, where's her people? You know what I'm saying? And then the other thing that struck me is that she had a full-length mink on. So I was like, okay, is she from Harlem? I was like, all right. I said, I felt more at home then. I got rid of my short mink a long time ago because it wasn't a Charlottesville thing. So Charlottesville couldn't adapt to that. So I've been got rid of that. And the bins.
You might have got shot down hunting season around here.
And the bins at that time. But I just saw her in herself. You know what I mean? And it really attracted me. And I was like, what's her story? And then we started talking and she started telling me about Bora. And I was like, yo, you know what? So I'm looking around and saying, yo, I got to interview you. I had my field recorder in my hand. I was like, so we went between like a so-called coat closets. It was coats on both sides of us. And we just kind of like snuck, like kind of like just went into this crevices of a space. And we just got it on, interviewed her. And I was intrigued. And she didn't even tell you one thing, like you mispronounced her name, right? You mispronounced her name, but if you know boxing, you know that her uncle is the great James Toney.
Oh, word.
Boxing, you gotta do your homework, brother.
Oh, man. Man, are you right?
Okay.
That's what's up. So, but you know, man, like so
can you fight?
Give us that.
So can you fight, Tiffany? Can you fight?
I've been in some situations. We never talk.
Yeah, so Tiffany, go ahead and give the folks you know, and even before you dig more into the film and backdrop of that, like update our listeners and viewers as to just who you are, Tiffany Toney, when it comes to your story and your journey in the filmmaking.
You know, it's funny. I got to kind of in that mink coat he was talking about. I was born in Hawaii, so and I live in.
That's right.
I was not used to this extreme cold weather that we were experiencing in Utah, so that's why I had the mink on. But just to clear. So I was, you know, I was born in Honolulu, Hawaii. I grew up in a small town, Texas, where people were just kind of like segregated in a weird way, and I always sort of felt like this token Black chick, you know, that never really fit into any group, but somehow fit into every group, if that makes any sense. And I felt like my a process of trying to figure out like, who am I? What does that mean? What does it mean to be a woman of color? How do I embody that, but still be myself? And end of all that, what I realized was like, when we wake up in the morning, like our first level of awareness is not like, I'm awake and I'm a Black woman, or I'm awake and I'm a Black man. It's just, I'm awake and I'm alive. You know, and so for me, I started to realize at a very early age that whatever it was that I was meant to do, it was to bridge a gap, you know, and to create experiences and content that allowed people, no matter where they come from, no matter their religious background, no matter how they identify racially or nationality wise, for them to be able to be touched by whatever it is that I write or that I say or that I create or that I cultivate, you know. And so I didn't really know how that was going to come to be, but you know, growing up, I was a softball player. I played in college, I played professionally, and when I was in Europe playing softball, I had this moment where I was just like, I don't know, like if this is really who I am anymore. And so when I got back to the States, I told my parents, hey, like, I'm going to go to LA and I just want to go and visit. And I feel like that's where I'm supposed to be. And so I went there, and like within 24 hours of being in LA, I was calling my job back home in DC. I was a news writer for like NBC News for like, I had a good job for a 20-year-old kid, you know? And I called them and I was like, I'm quitting. When I come back, this is my 2 weeks notice. I'm moving to LA. And I think when I moved to LA, I only had like maybe like $2,500, which I know might to some people be more than what they had when they moved here, but that goes so fast in a city like this. And within 6 weeks, I was homeless. Like,
at least you can laugh about it.
Right. You look back on it now, right?
Right.
But it was like, I knew if I told my parents, like, hey, I'm homeless and I'm struggling, that they were going to be like, you know, come back home. But I didn't go back home, because if I went back home, it was just going to slow the progress that led to, you know, forward to 9 years later, me, you know, making this film. And so, you know, I've always been somebody that, like, I don't like when people tell me what I can't do, or they tell me you're not going to do that, or you're not capable of doing that. You know, my father told me that, you know, having a chip on your shoulder sometimes is healthy, because it gives you that motivation and that edge that you need to keep going. But I don't think I ever really knew what it meant to actually like struggle until I was an adult and I was homeless and I was being treated like, you know, a Black person. I was flabbergasted, because you know, where I grew up, you know, everybody knew everybody. So I never really understood like the depths of racism and oppression and the social constructs that hold people of color back until I was an adult, you know. And for me, I feel like that was monumental, because I was like, okay, if I'm going to help people through my creativity, if I'm going to empower them, how can I do that if I don't understand them or I can't relate to them? So I feel like, you know, God allowed me to go through some very traumatic experiences in a very short amount of time, because I needed to understand who it was that I was supposed to be helping, you know.
Wow, that's deep. That's deep. And when I did do my homework, Ty, I did notice that that you were Asian Pacific. Like, is that a culture that you identify with? Do you see yourself as a Black woman? Or I'm just curious.
I'm really glad you asked that. Actually, it's interesting, because I never really knew to answer that question for a really long time. You know, I was born in Hawaii. That's, you know, nationality wise, I'm Hawaiian, but I grew up in a Black household. I later found out my biological father, who's been in prison most of my life, who I don't have much of a relationship with. We're kind of getting to know each other now, but he is, you know, has Mexican roots. And so I always wondered why I liked certain things or why I identified. Right. And then later in life, I found out, like, oh my gosh, like, these are my roots. And I started, you know, pictures of my grandmother wearing moccasins, and like, she was an indigenous woman who like worked this land. So when I think about, you know, coming from one side of my family was slaves who built the land, and then the other end of my family is the indigenous people who it was stolen from. And so it's like, it's very complex, but I see myself as an Afro-Indigenous woman. Like, that's how I identify. You know?
Nice.
Yeah. And I think it's my job to bridge the gap. So that's what I've been doing with my art.
There you go. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by Tiffany Toney, LA-based filmmaker of Bora. Like we said, we're going to be screening at Vinegar Hill Theater Saturday, May 20th. And so let's go ahead and dig into Bora. Maybe like to give you a little breather though. Like, what's your like connection with Bora? Like, for you to want to bring this sister here, lovely sister, as everybody can see, and anybody seen that trailer can see a very talented sister as well. But what is it about Bora that made you want to bring her in this film here?
Well, I'll say this, man. I committed to bringing Bora before I even saw the film, before I even saw the trailer. Okay. You know, just based on the conversation. I'm a type of person. You know me, man. I'm just repeating, you know, what your listeners know of me. But I'm a big supporter, and I provide platform to independent filmmakers. And when I have a woman independent filmmaker, I'm not gonna lie. I go over and beyond to support and to help out, even more than I do for the men. I'm not going to sit here and hold you, because it's such a male-dominated industry, and particularly on the set, you see more men in production than you see women. So when I meet a woman who is down to earth, intelligent, and talented, based on what they give me, even before I see it, then I take their word for it. You know what I mean? Because my goal is to support. Even if you weren't that talented or doing as many things as someone would say, the fact that you say that you are a filmmaker, I know what independent filmmaking is. I am independent filmmaking. I put all my money into it. I tour my own stuff. I promote my own. Sell tickets for my own. Rent out the movie theater. So I know what independent filmmaking is, and it's difficult.
Yeah.
And so if you could have support, it makes things a little bit easier. You know what I mean? And we have this community by which I believe we should lift one another up and try to find out where can you support and where can you help. So when she told me her story and told me the story about Bora, it was intriguing.
Yeah.
And I already was in. And we communicated after that. After we got back from Sundance, communicated. And I was like, yo, it's time. Let me scream. I'm gonna scream, scream Bora over here. I put the money in. If I lose, I lose. If I make some, I make some. You know what I mean? But it's a small market. It's Vinegar Hill Theater. It's a relatively small theater. So for me, it was really just about like the additional exposure for the film.
Yeah.
And when I saw the trailer, I was blown away. Like as soon as she sent me the trailer, I reached out to her like, yo, this is dope.
Yeah.
The color. Now, so put all that aside from what I told you as far as just supporting her. When I saw the trailer,
Right.
the things that really resonated with me, or not even resonated, but that really impressed me was the color and the intensity of it. It's very intense.
Yeah.
Deep, very intense. The color. And that's why I would love for you to ask her about the color, like what her choice selection, because I didn't even ask that yet. But
okay.
It's just very like she got these reds and the music is California culture. It's dope. So so I'm happy that I committed to it because she had such a successful West Coast premiere. She may not have let me get it. You know what I mean? Who knows? She'll be like, nah, this shit too hot. Excuse my language, y'all. Excuse my language. She may have been like, nah, this too hot. I'm not giving it. Where you live at? Charlottesville? Nah, I'm not gonna give it to you. So anyway, so I'm screening it, and I'm really hoping Charlottesville will show out for her. She's coming 3,000 miles away to come to Charlottesville, Virginia, Vinegar Hill Theater, right there on Market Street, man. We got to give it up to her.
Miss Toney, I got a question for you.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. When it comes to being an independent filmmaker, do you make the film and write the story based on what appeals to you or what you think might sell to the people that will support you?
Selling for me was never really the goal. I mean, it is now, of course, that I'm out all this, but but in the beginning, like, for me, everything the way this concept flowed, all of it was like a spiritual download for me. It was like somebody was using my hands to write this script and I was just a vessel for it. So for me, like my spirit is really my guide in what I do. And sometimes I don't know what that end result is going to be. I'm just present for the moment and for the vision, And so when you guys, you talk about the color and the music and the pacing and all that, like I have to really give credit to the small team of people who helped me make this film. It was literally like four people. When I tell you 4 people made this movie, that's So it's just, I'm very blessed to have very talented friends and people on my team who subscribed to the vision and really believed in me and what I wanted to put out, and were connected enough in a way to where we were able to come up with amazing posters and photos and pieces of content that you saw. My editor, James M. Black, he literally did the editing, the color. We sat together and worked through the trailer, just me, him, and another guy named China McCoy who worked on The Matrix. These are people surrounded with just beautiful men of color who are strong and intelligent and just subscribed to what I was bringing to them. And they were like, we believe in you. We're all in. And without them, this wouldn't be possible. And the music that you heard was done by a guy named Jason Betts, who is also a Black guy from Kansas City, who's kind of whatever, but like, he's a composer and he's brilliant. And, nobody even, he was just tucked away in this like hole in the wall studio. And I randomly met him one day just on a whim. Same way I met Ty. I just had no idea who he was. And it turned out he was like a Grammy award-winning composer. And I'm just like, what? Like, this is my first, and I'm getting to work with people like this. And
the universe.
Yeah. Like I said, so to answer your question, I didn't think about selling. I just thought like, okay, I hear the universe telling me, go here, do this, talk to this person. And I was just following the breadcrumbs. And then before it was a whole movement that had spiraled out of control in the best way. So
Well, I happen to love thrillers and scary movies. Ray's on the other hand, you know, he might bring half from them. He don't care for them too much at all. But I love them.
I'm gonna go because Ty said, "Look, you gotta show up." But I'm gonna be squinting, and I'm gonna sit by the door so that I don't get to jump off. Yeah.
So I have not seen the trailer. Do you have like zombies in your film?
No, not at all.
No. Okay. I'm just curious. I've seen the Day of the Dead in the description, so I was just wondering what to expect. Okay.
I don't too much because I don't want to give it away, but Bora is a very seductive serial killer. So, and there's a lot of comedy in this too. So you'll be scared, but you'll also get to laugh a lot, you know? And I felt like that this character was funny because I needed her to appeal to a mass audience, and she couldn't do that if she was too serious all the time. So
So how, thinking about I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Thinking about what was happening around the time that I guess you kind of conceived the idea of Bora. You said it was kind of during COVID, I believe, and is that right?
It was very
different. I lost
that. I was being evicted from my apartment at the time. I had lost my job. Hollywood had shut down. I wasn't getting any work. I was having car problems. Like, it was just everything that could have been going wrong at this time was my partner, China McCoy, is going through a divorce. His wife, everything. My James Black, my editor, his mother was sick and his cousin had just been like murdered. Like, it was just like everything that could have been going wrong for us was, and this movie was.
So you couldn't help but to come up with a thriller, right? But I was just wondering how COVID impacted your idea of the film.
Well, it impacted it in a way that I was locked in the house and I had nothing else to do but sit there and you know, I had nothing but time. So the script was 6 weeks, you know? So yeah, which abnormal, but it was just like, it just flowed. It just flowed. I think, you know, deep down inside, I was praying for something to save me. And in a way, it saved us all because it gave us this outlet and this platform, you know, and we didn't know what else to do other than create at that time. So.
Hey, Tiffany, I gotta tell you, I'm loving hearing like all of the Black love in your process. So it sounds like you're about like breaking, because I heard you mention earlier too about like breaking barriers and whatnot. So how important is it, like Ty mentioned earlier as well, you know, like you being you know, Black female and the industry being male dominated and whatnot, how important is that to your work? So sort of a two-part question like that, how important that diversity and being inclusive piece is, but on the other side, as you grow and like we see the great work like that you're able to do, which sounds like very minimal resources, but it was like, but the talent overcame that. And Ty could chime in on this as well, but because I'm always curious about movie budgets, right? It's like sometimes you see a trash movie, I'm like, they spent how much money? You know what I mean? Like, so sometimes it's like the talent, right? The talent and the know-how is most important. So I'm curious, like, you know, as your success grow and you grow, like how both of you balance that, you know, with saying, well, I got to buy this and got to buy that, got to now hire this person, that person, versus these are the talented people I need to work with. So yeah, so two-part on that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, well, I'll answer the diversity part first. I mean, you know, I think a lot of people harp on diversity and inclusion and all that, and not to like knock that, but it's just, I don't have a choice but for it to be diverse and inclusive because I'm literally a manifestation of that. I don't really have to say that. It's just is, you know what I mean? Like, I don't really go out of my way to like present it as that because it just is that, right? And so with the brown and Black communities here in LA, like there's, I mean, if you know anything about the history of like gang violence in LA and just all the things that have happened between Black and brown communities, like always pit against each other, this for me was an opportunity for us to like come and accept the things that we have in common, you know, because I'm a byproduct of both of those cultures. And it's such a huge part of like my childhood and my experience. Like I grew up in, you know, going to lowrider cruises and quinceañeras, but then on the weekends, I was at, the Black barbecue down the street, and my dad was coaching the basketball team. So it was like, for me, that was normal. But when I moved to LA, I realized like there was such a divide and misunderstandings that happen between these cultures. And I'm like, we're so similar in the way that we dance, the way that we love, the way that we, embrace family. And that's, and so for me, I was like, I want to pour my reality into this film to where there's no lines of color between us. It's just, our gangs are intermingled, our schools are intermingled, our relationships are intermingled. And for me, that was important. But it wasn't something I had to try hard to do. It was just like, I had, Cholo homies with low riders. I had Black friends from over here. I had Asian friends from over here. And all of those people were so talented that it just made sense for me to write this script in their voices, so it was like, it wasn't even, it was just like, I'm exposed to people that look like me that are talented. Why would I not, create the opportunity for them? So, yeah. And what was the second?
Oh, my bad. It was a 2-part. My bad.
Yeah, the other part is just alluding back to how Ty mentioned the colors and the piece of art that it is. And I was saying, based on our conversation, you had minimal resources. So I was just curious on how you look at talent versus budget.
Yeah, for me, I realized like, okay, my friends are talented and they might not be like named actors yet, but I can put them in this film and I can surround them with people like, Noel G from Training Day and Omar Gooding and Earthquake, and people that I might, have access to that might be able to show up for just a day or an hour. I might not be able to pay these guys to be in the film for like a whole week or like more than one scene, but I can have them do a cameo or drop in, and I can surround my talented team with people like this, and that was really my goal. And I've been consulting other independent filmmakers on how to like maximize your resources and your relationships so that you can make things look expensive with a small budget. And for me, that's that's a gift. And I learned that from my mentor, China McCoy, who is my assistant director on this movie. He knows how to take a little and just make it look like $1 million. And that was what we did.
Miss Toney, I've had the privilege to watch Ty take his films and go across the state and take him to Sundance and watch to see what he's getting out of the films when people see them, right? For you and your team, what is it that you hope to accomplish, let's say, a year from now?
Yeah, I hope that this is a tool for my team and I to continue to leverage this film to get more opportunities. Hope that it inspires people, which I feel it already has. I hope that James Black goes to be this amazing cinematographer to make his own films and be an award-winning director. I hope that China, does the same. And I hope that my co-star in this, that she goes on to like win Oscars. I hope that I do the same. I want this film to win awards, but I also want it to be a cult classic. Like 20 years from now, I want to see people wearing t-shirts like they wear those shirts with Friday on it. Like I want it has the potential to be that. So that's what I want. It's just to leave this legacy behind in a way that that is never forgotten, even long after I'm gone. So
but do you see why I'm bringing her here? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's what I'm talking about. That was the energy that I enjoyed at Sundance, just for the short period of time we were talking at Cannes when I interviewed her. But the thing about it, man, also one thing that I think she has not kind of hop on is her own skill set. She wrote it, she directed it, she produced it, and she's the leading actress in it. And she knocked them all out the park. Like, the producing part, if people don't know what producing is, as far as film, she brought all the pieces together.
That's
so
she hired quality, ain't it?
She hired all the people, right? She hired all the individuals. She got everyone to do what, like she said, she didn't have to pay certain people necessarily to do something, but she had to pivot. Like when they say, okay, I could come on the set from whatever 3 to 5, a producer is going to make it happen for that person from 3 to 5. Right. Like they're going to bring all the pieces, the cinematographer, the camera guy, whatever. And that's next level talent that people don't see. We see the fruits of the labor. Right. We don't see that labor, and it's not easy. And so her film, I didn't even ask her budget for the film. I let you ask her, but this film would have cost someone like me probably about $800,000 or so. For her, she has connections, and that's why it's all about the connections.
You gonna move to LA now? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, if I can be closer to Tiffany, I may have to. And I know my lady she would love it too. She want to be out there anyway. I can't go out there. I don't have enough money.
Just leave the suburban.
Yeah, I can't change my lifestyle right now. I gotta make this bread. We just bought a house. We just built a house. So, but I'm just trying to say that like the work, man, that she put into this and that sacrifice, and I know that she's going to benefit from it. I know it's going to all come back to her 10 times fold or 100 times fold. I just hope that she's patient enough, because a lot of times what happens, actors, they move on to the next project.
Yeah.
Us producers don't, because we got to sell this. We got to screen it. We got to get eyes on it. And she's playing all of that. So she can't slow down her career as an amazing actress to necessarily do all the things she needs to do for Bora. So I hope her team grows to support her in that journey.
Yes, spot on. Anything you want to add to that, Tiffany?
Yeah, like I said, this movie was made like literally like 3 people, because when you talk about like Black people doing amazing things and coming together, it was really cool because this guy named McGrady, he calls himself McGrady OG. He's like the Mexican Too Short. I swear to you, he's so talented. Artist play. Him out. He actually came in as an associate producer and allowed me into his home, into his community. His lowrider club called Hoopty really came through for us in so many ways and really added to the culture of this film. And I have to mention them because they just really rode for me when this was just a non-flushed out concept. They saw me, they believed in me, they allowed me into their community and their space, and allowed me to bring a bunch of Black people into this Mexican community.
That was funny the way she said that,
dude, because of LA, it was like that was a big deal for them to have that trust in me and that trust in us, and we formed a family and a unit. And without them, and without the small tribe of people who supported this, there is no film. So I did a lot of work. I did sacrifice a lot, but they really came through for me. And without that, this budget was $200,000, which know how I stumbled upon that money. It was all just God, I swear. Like I had some people come through, at the end of this and kind of drop some bread on me. But a lot of it was like I was applying for grants. I was on unemployment. I was driving for Lyft and Uber. Then my car got repossessed. So I had to, it was just everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. But it led me wrong, so I'm great.
Yeah. Are you feeling like a trailblazer? Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is. Are you feeling like a trailblazer in this industry? I heard Ty talk about how it's really a male-dominated industry. So, are there any females in this industry that you kind of look to for guidance or mentorship? And then, or do you feel like you're kind of just setting your own trail and overcoming some barriers for the people behind you, the young girls behind you?
I have men and women that I really respect and look up to. There's a woman named Tyler Maddox, who's my mentor family. She's also our distribution plug at Tribeca One. I could call her anytime, 4 a.m, and she would be there for me. I definitely was a daddy's girl growing up. So I was sort of raised sort of more of a male mentality, I guess. So I never really think about, I'm a frail woman and I'm being victimized by, which in some situations has been true. I mean, of course, yes, there's some bad people out there, but I never really thought about it that way. I just show up and just try to do the job to the best of my ability. I hope that other women, I really do. But at the end of the day, for me, I'm just like, can I do the job or not? That's definitely the day. Can I do the job or not? And I've never been one to ask for handouts or want to, people to feel sorry for me or to feel like, oh, she's a woman and she's Black, let me just elevate her. No, I still have to be great, And so for me, I take pride in that. I take pride in my name. I take pride in what the work that I put out looks like and how it makes people feel, So yeah, I am a trailblazer and I'm proud of that.
Yeah, own it. Go ahead and own it, Tiffany. It's cool.
Yep.
But speaking of that, how therapeutic has this been for you? All that you were going through in the creation of this, and then now to see how it's being accepted. And also when I hear you talk about, your heritage and things of that sort, and like you can see that written all through this script, right? How therapeutic is this movie for you?
Man, so much, so therapeutic. I knew it was going to be, I knew it was going to do this. I felt like I was manifesting this. I knew it. Nobody else really believed. And so for me, I feel like it is therapeutic. It's also scary because people are just savages out there, and you got to keep, keep your circle small, and you have to guard what you've built. My life was threatened during the making of this movie. I had a producer that I fired for harassing a couple people on the team. He was very like, oh, I'll ruin you and I'll kill you and I'll make sure this movie never sees the light of day. And I'm like, be a woman, have a man like threaten you like that. It was that. And I think that was the moment when I realized, like, damn, this shit must be really good. Be really good. So it was like, that was, I think, the scariest part of this journey, but I still saw it as like a way to be like, okay, that's just one more thing to overcome. That's just one more person that's going to wish they didn't treat me that way. That's just one more person that's going to watch this and think, wow, like, I messed up. And so, I was just like, okay, like, it is what it is, Yeah. So it's been a really rough ride, very bumpy ride, but it's also been like an opportunity for me to prove to myself like my own strength and my own power and my own like will to win and to survive, so
yeah. And you're a very humble person, but go ahead and brag on yourself a little bit. Like the screenings you had so far, go ahead and let Charlottesville know like what they're stepping into as far as the reception, like that you've gotten so far at your screen.
And before she does that, I need her to understand we're not in Hollywood, so I'm just screening the film. Like I need her to know that it's not gonna be this big extravaganza that she's accustomed to. You feel me?
I feel you.
We screen films here. The extravaganza is over in Cali, in LA. Just want to make sure.
I mean, like, but she's coming to see the great Ty Cooper, though. So
Nah.
You gotta live up to that.
Nah. I'm good. I don't need that pressure.
We're gonna have the red carpet and the shrimp.
I'm so like truly grateful for you and just for you guys having me on and just all of it, like all of it.
That's what's up,
glad to have
it's very magical, and I'm grateful. I'm more than grateful. So you don't have to worry about any of that.
I'm scared of scary movies,
It's all love.
But since you brought out the waterworks, I'm gonna go ahead and show up now. I was gonna say my stomach wasn't acting right when it was time to come, but I got to show up now. That's what's up.
Magical, and I'm just so grateful to be able to share this with the world and with you, and with my dad's gonna get to see it. He hasn't seen it yet, so he's flying in to see it. So it's gonna be amazing. I don't care if he's the only one there; that it doesn't matter. So like I'm so grateful. And you're asking me to brag on myself, but it's like I don't know if I really need to. I mean, the movie speaks for itself, So
there you go.
Yeah.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been joined by Tiffany Toney, brought to you by Ty Cooper and Life View Marketing and Visuals, about the screening of Bora, Vinegar Hill Theater, Saturday, May 20th. Doors open 6 p.m., screening at 7 p.m. There'll be a filmmakers Q&A to follow. And you can get your tickets at Eventbrite and all that. Ty, you want to shout out any sponsors or let folks know more information about tickets?
Yeah, mask she's showing us.
We Now, we have, I usually bring the indie short film series here every month, every other month. It's a collection of short films. This is a feature film, so there's nothing else showing, but Bora. So we just need the support. I want to show, we have Tiffany coming way from 3,000 miles away just to be here in Charlottesville. She got some family that's coming in there. But we just need Charlottesville and the surrounding area to just really come out and support it. There's not a lot of black feature films, right? By someone who's black, indigenous and so forth. I don't usually get that. So when I get it, I'm showing it because I chose Charlottesville because I believe Charlottesville deserve it. I could have easily went to Richmond with it, where there's a larger population. I did not with intent. I screened Amanda out there. Like I have outlets, but I just think Charlottesville, I just want to do much more culturally for Charlottesville Black community. So this is one of the reasons why I'm bringing Bora here, opposed to another market, a larger market.
We need it.
So so I'm just hoping that the people, our folks, can show up and show her some love. And so to connect that, I gotta, I didn't go to any other business to get a sponsorship, but I went to I went to York Properties, you know, my boy Charlie.
Absolutely.
Right? So, you know, black businessman in Charlottesville. And, you know, and he gave me a little something to support it. You know what I'm saying? So he's a sponsor. And of course, Seville Weekly is a sponsor, because they always sponsor most of my events, because they love to support what I try to do and sacrifice to bring here. So really it's York Properties and Seville Weekly, and of course my company.
Yeah. And of course I ain't made you.
Yes, of course, brother. Of course. Come on now. That's like going without saying, but because I'm on your
platform. Go ahead and say it then.
I'm on your platform. I always never see.
Our screening did 200 people though, and it was a standing ovation, and people cried, and people were very moved by this film. Nobody saw the end coming. Everybody was like, it was just such a positive vibe. Like people snuck into the screening that weren't even invited, which was very flattering. Yeah,
we're not gonna do that here though. Everybody gonna buy tickets, and you know what I mean? Like I don't need no trouble. Listen, I got too much to lose. I got too much to lose. I don't want to. Let's just be cool on May 20th. Saturday, May 20th at 7 p.m. She's gonna take the screen over. I'm gonna sit back, and it feel good to not like. I love screening my stuff, man, but it just feels good for me to be able to sit back and really truly enjoy a film that I already saw twice. But I'm going to be looking at like every audience member. I'm gonna sit in the front, and I'm gonna tilt my back, and I'm gonna be looking at people's eyes, just in their facial expression, just to see how they are, like, you know, taking each moment of each scene. I look forward to that more than anything, to be honest. But you get tickets by you go to Eventbrite. You can look up Bora movie. And or you can come there in person and buy tickets. Doors open at 6 though, but it's best to get tickets in advance if you can, so that way you get access to the theater before anyone else does. And you can go to boramovie.eventbrite.com. That's boramovie.eventbrite.com. And then you go to my website. I mean, you go to my like Facebook page and so forth too. Ty Cooper. You know, if you find me on Facebook. But is it on yours? On your I am HO?
Yeah, we shared it. Yep. So flyer, link, everything's up on the page, y'all.
Yeah, okay.
It's also in the comment thread of this live feed as well. But yeah,
and Vinegar Hill Theater too. Vinegar Hill Theater. If you don't know where that's at, it's 220 West Main Street, West Market Street, right downtown, right next to the Browns Locks. If you don't know where that's at, it's like right in that area over there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ty, man, thank you as always for bringing more and more to the community.
Absolutely.
Hey, y'all. We gotta get out there. If Tiffany didn't sell it enough, come on, y'all, for sure. And Tiffany, a pleasure to meet you. Looking forward to also meet you in person out there. Look, I may gotta bring a Sharpie and a flyer. Get this. I'm gonna get this autograph while it's still cheap. This autograph. Hey, but Tiffany, any last words? Definitely for folks to learn more about you and your work. You want to give the people context?
I have a movie called Jungle Juice that's currently on Tubi. I also did a short called Jade Rising. All that stuff is on my social media. You can follow me on Instagram. It's Tiffany__Toney, spelled Toney. And then you can follow Bora the movie on Instagram too. And it's exactly that. It's at Bora the movie. So yeah, check me out. Hit me up on Instagram. Check out my posts. I'm posting about the movie almost every day. So I'm super excited, and I look forward to meeting all of you.
I don't know you, Tiffany, and I'm proud of you. Congratulations. I wish you the very best.
Thank you.
That's what's up. I screened her film Jade Rising. I screened that April 15th.
Oh, that was her. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't even know? You sent it to me.
Did people enjoy it?
They loved it.
Oh, good.
Yeah, because it was different. It was a sci-fi movie. So when you have a black sci-fi movie, you know what I'm saying? Like that's it was different. People weren't expecting it. And that's a good thing about the indie short film series, that I try to make sure when I curate it that I include different types of films. So sometimes you may not like something, but you're gonna like something else. It's just, you know what I mean? I try to include something for everyone, and also it's just for the enrichment of their cultural experience.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Thank you.
Great work.
Ty, Tiffany, thank you. Continued blessings and safe travels.
Thank you. Bye.
See you soon.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that, and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in this city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories. More people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay aligned with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written by Charlottesville Tomorrow or Vinegar Hill Magazine, or tuning in to In My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jams from noon to 3 p.m., either way, we want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community can also support the SIM project through funding. To learn more about how to support SIM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.
President
All right,
Avenue
Miss Max,
and
we'll close real quick.
hardware.com. Hold on.
Family, thank y'all for joining us for yet another show. If I must say so myself, I think it was a pretty good one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, indeed. Thanks, everybody. Tiffany, Toney. I want to thank Ty for bringing her and her film here on May 20th, Vinegar Hill. Also want to thank Daisa Pascall. She's out here, rooting and championing for our rural students. Make sure y'all support her. She has that GoFundMe up right now, trying to get the rural students more exposure to HBCUs, African American history, and what have you. Definitely Hollie Lee tomorrow, May 8th, going to be over at the Jefferson 1 to 5 with the pipelines and pathways, with all that career coaching, job opportunities.
Oh, check our Facebook page. Ty has said he's gonna give away 2 pairs of tickets. I'm gonna put a question on there. And the first 2 people to answer that question, I'm gonna give out those 4 tickets. All right.
Hey, there we go. Enough said. Anything else, Miss Max?
I think that's it. I think it was a great show. So grateful to all of our guests for coming on and chatting with us a little bit. Good topics. And of course, we always have to thank our listening audience. We wouldn't be who we are without them tuning in faithfully. And so we appreciate you, and hopefully you enjoyed the show today. Learned something new.
Last thing I got is Usher is the king of R&B, but Chris Brown will win in the fight.
Okay.
Last thing I got. Thank you. And good night.
Yo, Chris Brown got to chill, man.